Supreme Court decision yesterday to overturn the state government's freeze on puberty blockers and hormone treatment for children. Well, as soon as the judgment came down, almost immediately the Queensland Health Minister reinstated the ban. Have a listen.
So the government's concerned to make sure that the services that are provided are in the best interests of children, and we believe that that is a very strong public interest. It's important that the government has an overview of what is in the best interests of children in this state.
Well, I'll tell you what, Caro, they're not mucking around with the safety of kids in Queensland, are they?
They're certainly not, and good on them. I think there's a lot of premiers and ministers around the country that should take note of this. The minister reintroduced the ban for public interest reasons, and fair enough. Let's remind ourselves why it was brought in the first place back in January, and that's because of revelations that children as young as 12 were being prescribed puberty blockers at a clinic in Cairns without parental consent or proper medical oversight. I mean, that is outrageous, as young as 12. And in this case, before the Supreme Court, it was the mother of a 14-year-old, now 14, but was only 9 or 10 when she was diagnosed with gender dysphoria. So, I mean, we're talking about young children here, and it has now been proven that puberty blockers can have a lifelong impact on these children's health. We're talking about impacting their fertility, bone density, even their ability to enjoy sex when they reach adulthood. Like, this is not a trivial decision to experiment with their puberty. This has lifelong impacts, and of course it's a gateway to other sort of gender affirming care like surgery, where kids and more likely young adults are having perfectly healthy body parts hacked off. So, and not only that, but the research is now showing that it doesn't actually have necessarily a positive impact on their mental health, which is the reason that advocates have been blackmailing politicians and critics about not opposing this kind of gender-affirming care, that it might not actually stop suicidal ideation in these children. So I think it's also important to remind people that this Supreme Court decision was not because the judge was making some kind of verdict on this pause itself. It was all about a legal process, and the judge made that very clear. The proceedings are not about the merits of this freeze on puberty blockers, but just about the legal process that went into the decision in the first place.
Well said, well said. Let's go to another blow to Chris Bowen's nuclear pig-headedness. This one's a good one, James. The Trump administration's just struck a new $80 billion deal to massively expand nuclear power in the United States. And, you know, you add in the fact that Bill Gates today has gone out there, he's written an essay, and he says that, quote, the doomsday view of climate change has got to stop. He says we've got to stop focusing too much on near-term emissions goals. Are we finally seeing some rational sense in this debate?
Well, we're seeing rational sense in the Northern Hemisphere. And, you know, it's pretty interesting to note that Bill Gates, once we've realized how much energy all of these new AI data centers is going to consume, suddenly says, maybe we don't need to worry about the energy and the climate thing. We actually just need to worry about getting enough electrons through to power all of these data centers, which, of course, he'll have a huge stake in. America is really going through a nuclear renaissance, and it is not just the $121 billion announcement that the Trump administration made. It's all of these data companies, you know, who are all looking at getting their own small modular reactors to power their own data centers. It's the Pentagon saying we are going to be looking at powering our bases with nuclear reactors to make sure that they are independent from the grid, to make sure that they have energy sovereignty. This is absolutely huge. And we see how America is really on the cusp, and we're already seeing it now, of pulling well ahead of America in terms of, you know, wealth and prosperity and technology. And Australia, I really hate to say this, is being left terribly behind by what you say quite rightly is pig-headedness on the part of Chris Bowen, but also Labor, and frankly, a lot of people on the coalition side as well.
It's that time of year, Caroline. The Australian Research Council releases some of their grants for the new 2026 year. As always, I think we're scratching our heads because this is such an abject waste of taxpayers' money. Yes, there are some good ones to medical and scientific research. I pay credit to that. But one of the grants is to reimagine public toilets with, quote, with a focus on diverse socio-values and cultural needs. Almost $400,000 to look at how the ancient Greeks dealt with grief. You can buy a book at the bookshop and then buy one of the classics. It'll tell you everything you need to know. $300,000, this is a good one, $300,000 to write the first global history of hysterectomy. Now, I tell you what, that last one, that's a grant to the University of Western Sydney. And I bet if you went out there with a camera crew tomorrow, that university could not even tell you what the definition of a woman is. So why spend $300,000 writing a history about a hysterectomy?
You're so right, Peter. And it would be funny until we remind ourselves that this is our taxpayer money that they're paying for this ridiculous research with, and then it becomes very depressing and outrageous. A couple of the other ones worth pointing out, $580,000 to study how playing the drums can help the elderly, and the Australian National University, $350,000 again on women, studying women's handwriting. But this one really got my attention, $900,000 for the University of Sydney to examine discreteness bias, whatever that means, more academic jargon, something about sexuality, race and mental health. Maybe that university, though, should look at indiscreet bias, because some of their own academics have now shown themselves to be anti-Semites and they've got a real problem on campus. So I think that money could maybe be better spent there.
Imagine what pensioners could do with that money. You know, you want good bang for your buck, give that money to pensioners and let them spend it wisely. I'll leave it there, both of you. Thank you.